this afternoon. Welcome to the symposium. This morning, we had the 19th Sadli Lecture, and I know some of you didn't join that. We had almost 150 people this morning. So I'm sorry for the state of mess of the room, but we're trying to clean it up, but hopefully it's not too unpleasant. Again, welcome to this afternoon session, Symposium on Social Inequality, Communities and Climate Change. This is a seminar that is a collaboration of LPAF, FEBUI, ANU Indonesia Project, and KONEKSI. Before we start, let me remind you that this afternoon we will have two sessions. The first session, both sessions will feature presentations by recipients of KONEKSI research grants, and we will divide them into two sessions of presentations and question and answer and discussion. So before we start, we are happy to welcome Bapak Leonardo Adipurnama alias Teguh Sambodo. Or Dr. Teguh Sambodo in short. Terima kasih. Pak Teguh is Deputy Minister for Food, Natural Resources and the Environment of Bappenas. Pak Teguh will give us remarks to open our symposium this afternoon. Pak Teguh, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation to this important symposium on social inequality, communities, and climate change. Honorable Pak Budi, Sudarno, the head of the new Indonesia project, Ibu Janet from KONEKSI, and colleagues from LPMUI, and ladies and gentlemen, distinguished researchers, academics from all university, and Bapak Ibu from the ministry and all invitees. I would like to focus on with English and with my speech. And I'm sorry that after I giving this speech, I need to continue because today it seems that we are talking about sustainability. This morning about sustainable palm oil, and then now it's about how to connect climate change with the society and how to make it more inclusive. And then later on, I will talk about the nexus of food, energy, and water. So it's all about sustainability for today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Rahayu. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to join this symposium. On behalf of Bappenas, I would like to extend gratitude to deepen through KONEKSI for their continued support towards sustainable development in Indonesia, particularly in providing evidence, promoting this course, so we can have the same understanding and improve our understanding about various challenges that we face for Indonesia development. This symposium reflects our shared understanding that climate change intersects deeply with social structures. This proportionately affecting vulnerable communities. Allow me to share a brief presentation on Indonesia commitments to address climate change with a particular emphasis on gender equality, disability, and social inclusion or GENC. First of all, climate change is a borderless challenge. It affects all nations, including Indonesia, and continues to exert pressures on our people and environment. Indonesia is already experiencing the consequences, including rising temperatures, shifts in rainfall patterns, disrupting agriculture and water systems, sea level rise, threatening coastal communities, and declining marine productivity, and increase the vulnerability in coastal zones. In 2022, governance is estimated that Indonesia will face around Indonesian rupiah 544 trillion in potential economic losses across four key sectors due to the impacts of climate change if no action is taken. With timely interventions on climate resilience policy, we hope that we can prevent up to Indonesian rupiah 281 trillion in losses by 2024. Given the disproportionate impacts of climate change on various vulnerable groups, it is crucial to recognize how climate change affect different groups. For children and women, particularly women, where disproportionate burden of climate change impacts due to existing social and economic inequalities. Children are also highly vulnerable to climate-related disruptions, especially in health and education. For elderly, face increased health risks from extreme heat, poor air quality, and limited mobility during disasters. They are often less able to evacuate or access emergency support and healthcare during climate crisis. People with low level health and low levels access and mobility face higher risk to livelihood and well-being during climate crisis. They usually encounter barriers to essential services, assistive devices, and green job opportunities, often due to stigma and inaccessible infrastructure. For indigenous and isolated communities, they face severe threats from climate change, such as deforestation and land degradation, which endanger their traditional ways of life. These groups often lack infrastructure and mobility, limiting access to emergency services and adaptation resources. Therefore, climate change policy must be designed to inclusively mainstream the needs and perspectives of these groups to ensure equitable and effective adaptation and mitigation efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia envisions becoming an advanced, sovereign, and sustainable nation by 2045. The 2025 until 2045 National Long-Term Development Plan lays out specific targets, including the increase of per capita income at par with developed countries, while reducing greenhouse gas emission intensity towards net zero emissions in 2060 or sooner, with collaboration with development partners. These two goals serve as both as accelerator and brake in achieving our development vision sustainably. Therefore, in our long-term development plan, we prepare that the economic transformation will be implemented to green economic framework. Alongside technology and innovation, digital transformation, domestic integration, and balanced urban-rural development, we hope that economic growth, projecting GDP growth from 5.3% in 2025 to 8% in 2029, will be complemented with our efforts to reduce emission intensity and also to make sure that there will be a more sustainable practices applied. The green economy strategy span beyond environmental agenda. It is a forward-looking development model, including low carbon development, climate resilience, biodiversity management, sustainable spatial planning, circular economy practices, and effective waste management. We hope that by investing in greener and infrastructure and creating green jobs, for example, we can drive social welfare and protect our environment at the same time. This is not just a necessity. We think and believe also that this is also a powerful opportunity for Indonesia to live with innovation and resilience. The low carbon development and climate resilience initiative that we have started will serve as an important role as the backbone of the green economy transition that we are going to apply. These initiatives have been integrated into the national development agenda, such as our medium-term development plan, as well as some of the priorities for the upcoming development for the next 5 years. Our low carbon development policies encompasses seven key strategies, which are sustainable energy development, sustainable land management, sustainable agriculture, low carbon coastal and marine development, green industry development, waste management, and circular economy. As of 2023, these efforts have cut greenhouse gas intensity by 42%, proving that economic growth and emission reduction can go hand in hand. With continued support and collaboration with the stakeholders, we hope that we have the ability to achieve net zero emission by 2060 or earlier. Our climate resilience policy also strengthens national preparedness and adaptive capacity on four key issues, which are protection of coastal resilience in the marine sector, increasing water security, increasing climate resilience in the agricultural sectors, and protecting the health sector and climate impacts. Today, it has successfully reduced potential economic losses from climate in these disasters up to 113.9 trillion rupiah, approximately around 7 billion US dollar. Inclusive and sustainable development requires that no one is left behind. Socio-cultural and ecological resilience stands as a crucial foundation in Indonesia transformation agenda. This resilience reflects the ability of individuals and community alongside nature and the environment to adapt and thrive amid various shocks and changes, while ensuring that environmental capability is sustained, so every individual can live a quality life and contribute meaningfully to the development. The government emphasizes the importance of JETSI in all policy directions. This includes strengthening family and community resilience, protecting the rights of children, women, persons with disabilities, and the elderly, as well as empowering these groups through inclusive development policies. This approach also involves enhancing disaster and climate resilience while reducing emissions and minimizing economic risks. JETSI governance, affirmative policy, and enabling environments are essential to realizing our Indonesia Golden Vision 2045. Indonesia's commitment to increasing social inclusion in climate change is explicitly reflected in our long-term and medium-term and annual development plan documents. Just early last year, the government of Indonesia launched the National Action Plan on Gender, Climate Change, Gender and Climate Change, or GPI, a milestone for inclusive climate action. This action brings genders and disability consideration to be the forefront of climate change. It promotes inclusive participation from women and youth to indigenous communities and persons with disabilities via consultations, incentives, and policy integration. A concrete example of JETSI integration in LCDI phase 2 program, for example, a program led by the Ministry of National Development Planning, collaborated with the UK government. Tailored JETSI strategy has been embedded across all phases, including problem analysis, planning and design, delivery, and implementation. To note that the strategy is not a standalone strategy, it is embedded across the full SDI program cycle and with clear roles and accountability assigned to all implementing teams. As a closing statement, As we confront the urgent and complex challenges of the climate crisis, this symposium underscores a fundamental truth. The inclusion is not merely an inspiration, an aspiration, but a bedrock of effective and just climate action. By actively empowering all communities, we believe that we are not only building a more equitable society, but also forging a more resilient future for all Indonesians. Leaving no one left behind and ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to contribute, their unique perspectives and capacities are not just ethical imperatives, they are strategic necessities. Our journey towards a sustainable and prosperous Indonesia by 2045 and our commitment to achieving net zero emissions by 2060 will be strengthened immeasurably by embracing the principles of gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. Let this symposium serve as a catalyst for deepen collaboration, innovative solutions, and unwavering commitment to an inclusive climate agenda. Together, we can build a future where resilience and justice go hand in hand. Thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Pak Teguh, for your remarks. And I would like to also let others know that Pak Teguh is coming to Canberra to speak on our upcoming September Indonesia Update. It's an annual event organized by ANU Indonesia Project, and we are very happy to have you as a distinguished speaker during the next update, which will be on the topic of climate change. Thank you again. So we will start on our first session of presentations. This session will be chaired by Associate Professor Evanisa. Ibu Evanisa is an associate professor in anthropology at the School of Culture, History, and Language. She is also one of the recipients of the prestigious ARC DECRA Fellowship. So Ibu Eva is one of the rising stars at ANU. So Ibu Eva will be leading this first session, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for your very kind introduction. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, colleagues, students, Professor Mary Oy, Professor Emerita Antika Maya, DFAT KONEKSI, Ibu Jenna just left the room, and Ibu Marilyn, and also, of course, my colleagues from ANU Indonesia Project. A very warm welcome to all of you. After having lunch, I hope you you have your energy like that at the highest level, and not too sleepy. Okay, now we following up on what we had this morning, the Sadli Lecture. This session for the Sadli Lecture Gender Series, the symposium, we will have symposium at the moment. This one, symposium on social inequality, communities, and climate change in Indonesia. We will have two sessions. The first session, we will invite our KONEKSI grantees, 3 KONEKSI grantees, and then the second session we will invite 2 KONEKSI grantees who will share their work on the interconnection of gender, environment, and also local knowledge. And this then will be followed by responses and also comments from our distinguished panelists, Professor Emerita Antika Maya and Dr. Malineka, and also Associate Professor Firman Witula. Oh, sorry, Firman Witula, yes. And this then will be followed by Q&A. So we'll open the floor for questions from all of you. Without further delay, let's just dive right in. It's my great honor to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Dr. Abdina Ellen Blas, and she will be sharing her research title. That's the title: Empowering Papuan Women in Coastal Community to Fight Climate Crisis. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Abdina.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Well, firstly, I would like to say thank you very much for KONEKSI because giving me the opportunity for sharing our research that we got the support from KONEKSI-funded with the title Empowering Papuan Women in Coastal Community to Fight Climate Crisis. Actually, this is in collaboration with our research partner, Dr. Jane Munro from Queensland University, and the other part is most of us from Papua University, from different faculty, from Faculty of Forest and Agriculture and the other faculties. Okay. That climate it's affected people and then species and also environment, and climate change affected people differently. Women are more susceptible on climate change, especially in developing countries where women mostly often depend on natural resources for their livelihood. And we know that women are more likely to be responsible for food, energy, and water in a rural household, making them more vulnerable to change in weather patterns and also water scarcity and also natural disaster. Empowering women to engage in climate issue, it will enable more inclusive, holistic solutions that address not only environmental sustainability, but also economic and social resilience. Women mostly possess invaluable knowledge about their local systems, and then they know about the social practices, sustainable practices, and then they're also responsible for water management, which are crucial for developing effective climate adaptation strategy. We Mangrove is one of ecosystem in the coastal area that play a crucial role in mitigating climate change by efficiency capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And we know that in Southeast Asia, mangrove area is about 32%, and in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has the biggest area of mangrove, and 50% of mangrove area in Indonesia are located in Papua. And then mangrove ecosystem mainly support the livelihood of coastal community in Papua. Mostly women in Papua, Papuan women, they really depend on a mangrove ecosystem in order to get their food and their energy like firewood in order to support their livelihood. Most mangrove area in Papua are culturally female-dominated space. It means that mostly women, they have their activity in a mangrove area to support their lives. By empowering Papuan women who live in the mangrove ecosystem, critical for it is critical for developing effective adaptation strategy for the climate change. The objective of our research is documenting the activities and strategy in empowering Papuan women in mangrove area in order to address climate crisis. This is our research site. We did research. Actually, we collect in 5 different places, but in this presentation, I will just show 2 locations that we collect our data. Firstly, in Jayapura region, it is in the main city of Jayapura city. It's in the northern part. It is in the Engrowth and Tobati village. Actually, the mangrove forest area has decreasing over the years because of the mostly of the development. And if you can see that like a big bridge, Jembatan Merah in Jayapura, it's also one of the biggest causes, the loss of mangrove forest in Jayapura city. And then the second area is in the Mimika region. It is a location where there is a Freeport mining company in that area. And this area have a different tribe. In Jayapura, they have Kavi tribe, and in Mimika, they have Animha tribe, and we collect the data from 3 different villages in Mimika, and in Jayapura, we collect data from Engrowth and Tobati that have mangrove forest. For Mimika, they have very huge, in the southern part, they have a very huge mangrove forest. This is our research method. It's a qualitative research method. We did for our data collection. We did FGD, with the local community, especially with the women and also with the men. And then we interview almost 30 respondents from each area with a semi-structured question that we have. And then the respondent is like from 20 until 70 years old, both men and women. And then the data that we collect, we analyze using NC4 software in order to make a categorization and also to find the theme that related with our research patient. And this is the picture that we take FGD in Mimika and also in Jayapura, and also we did also field observation where we go directly with the women to the mangrove area in order to see how their activity in the mangrove forest. And this is our result. Based on our result, we did that. The women said about all of our respondents said about the effect of the climate change that they got it. Firstly, increasing of sea level or sea level rise. They said that mostly in December, tidal waves will brought the debris rise to water level into the village. Houses were flooded and the solar power plant was not operational. In Mimika, there is a lot of increasing of sea level, and it's forced the local community to move to another new village because of the old village was submerged by the water, so they have to move. It is the way of their adaptation for the climate change that they have, but they don't really say that this is a climate change. They just say that there is a change in their natural ecosystem. And then also this is this picture over here down here, the left side. It is the relic of World War II. Was led by Japan Army. In the past, when we asked one man in the past, they said when he was like young, he should play in the corner of this relic. But right now, they cannot even go there because it's already covered by the sea. So it's a proof that there is a climate change effect or increasing of sea level rise. And then the second one is the loss of biodiversity. The local women also say that there is a change of a number of shellfish that they collect, and some of the species they cannot find it. Like that one, they said that species of shellfish, usually they collect to like a special culture, tradition people or other people, and they give it for the tribe leader. But now they cannot collect it because it's already they cannot find it anymore, something like that. And they say also there is a decreasing number of fish or crabs that they can get. Like in the past, they can like collect like one stock, one how many one, and then right now they only collect only one can. So it's there is a decreasing. Um, by empowered women, if women are empowered when they have knowledge, resource, and agency to make decisions and take action that can improve their life and their community. So in here we try to see to what extent how women, Papua women have been empowered through knowledge and then access to the resource and also the leadership in the moment in order to fight the climate crisis. This one, we see empowering women through knowledge. We define the activity of capacity building and education. In here, for knowledge, we define knowledge about mangrove itself, how they got the knowledge about mangrove, and then knowledge of climate change, and what is the capacity building that they have gathered. And from what we got, knowledge of mangrove, mostly they got from their parents. It's not from the formal education, but mostly from their parents or from their granny that usually take them when they was a child, and also from their life experience because they can see mangrove really give and support their life. So through the they got knowledge of mangrove mostly from informal education from their parents, and then knowledge about climate change. They cannot say directly that this is climate change. They don't know. They don't know nothing about climate change, the term of climate change. But they was effective when we asked about. You see, there is a change. Do you see like this? Yes, we got it. But they cannot really explain this is a climate change. So, and then for capacity building, they say yes. For capacity building, there is like NGO and also local government that come and give like capacity building. For example, in Jayapura, there is an NGO Ekonusa. They give capacity building in order to make food eco-print, and then they also learn about it. And then in Mimika also, the local government give a capacity building how to make tea from the mangrove in order to, for them to make like kind of maybe they said it if they don't go to find to get fish or crabs or something like that. And then, it is for knowledge. And then access to resources, how Papua women are more empowered by access to resources. In it, we divide resources to mangrove forest itself, and then to the financial and to the technology resources. For mangrove forest, actually both in Mimika and Jayapura, they have access. They have access to mangrove forest, but only access. In terms of control, mostly it's held by the men. If the mangrove forest has a value, there is a new project or things like that, women will not have a choice. They only have an access to the mangrove forest. And then for the financial thing, mostly through the project that done by the outsider when they have a project like the planting, the seedling of a mangrove. So from this, they have access to get the money because they will provide a prepare like the seedling of mangrove, and then it will collect get the money. And then for technology, like I have explained before, from the capacity building, they will get a new technology in order to improve their resources. And then empowering women through leadership and proactive action. In Jayapura, we see one woman that really speak about importance of mangrove, and we invite her, we interview her, and yeah, this woman, Ibu Petronella Merauje, she is like the for the woman in her village to really do things, and she even said that she has like a dream to build a school about like a natural school about mangrove in order to teach the young generation, because right now they are like completely didn't care about the mangrove forest. Yeah, if we can compare Jayapura and Mimika region, we see that Jayapura has like more activity to empower women compared to Mimika. And we can see that this is because of Jayapura, the accessibility of Jayapura is like closer. It is in the city, so it's easier to like do activity and empower women in Jayapura. And secondly, in Jayapura, they have a term of like from the cultural from the others, they give access and for access the forest, mangrove forest, and they call it hutan perempuan. It is the new terminology that attract outsiders to come and to know about the hutan perempuan. So we also see our conclusion, Jayapura, and we also want to say one point is besides this, there is also another thing that outside of a woman to protect. There is another impact from urbanization and then also pollution that women cannot do anything. And this is influence mangrove forest. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Athena, for the rich and thought-provoking presentation. So you just introduced us to Papua's mangrove. Next up, we will have Dr. Daniel from Universitas Gadjah Mada. Dr. Daniel will present his work titled Future Proofing, a Basic Social Service, Climate Resilient Community-Based Rural Water Supply. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Daniel.
Okay, yeah. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm from Universitas Gadjah Mada, and I'm here today to represent our research consortium entitled that one future briefing, a basic social service, climate resilient community-based rural water supply. And we are a research consortium consists of four institutions, which is led by University of Technology Sydney, but unfortunately the Professor Juliet Wiratz cannot come today. And from Indonesia counterparts, we are from Universitas Gadjah Mada, Universitas Indonesia, and CRPG. So we work closely together with Bapanas to help them to develop the climate aspects of the rural water supply programs in Indonesia. I will tell you a bit about the program so we have the same understanding about the project. Okay. Okay, I just want to start using these presentations. I don't know how many of you are or heard some days ago about the blackout in Bali, but this just shows that we are not. So can you imagine that there's a one province in Bali, one big island, many people there many traditional people, and suddenly the electricity gone. So it just showed us that in the context of Indonesia, we are even not electricity resilience. So now if we move to the water supply systems, and I will tell you a bit about the conditions, whether we are resilient or not. We know water and electricity, they are a basic needs of people. And whether the involvement of women or vulnerable groups, or if you want to include the GFC aspect, it can increase the climate resilience or the sustainability aspects of the rural water supply program. Next. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. I want to start using these definitions because I know many of you don't have any background in technical sides. Actually, my background is yeah. Let's say I'm a technical person, so standing here in front of you talking about social stuff, it's a big achievement for me. But just want to make sure that you understand some terms that I want to share with you today. Maybe I will go to the second because I know you already know about the social equity. The second terms I will mention it quite a lot: water, sanitation, and hygiene. And I will jump to RWS, Rural Water Supply, PAMSIMAS. PAMSIMAS is the Community-Based Rural Water Supply Program in Indonesia, and CBO, Community-Based Organization. Yeah, okay, that's nice. Okay, let's start talk about PAMSIMAS because actually our project is related to this project. As I said, PAMSIMAS is the community-based rural water supply. So basically, this is the opposite of PDIM. If you know, if you are from Indonesia, you know PDIM. So this is the urban water supply program, let's say. But PAMSIMAS is focused more on rural aspects. And actually, this is a big program. If I remember correctly, the project started in 2006, 2004, if I remember correctly. But this is really a big project because there are 38,000 villages or programs across the countries, and benefited about 26 million people. So let's say if the population of Indonesia now 200 million, if I remember. So let's say 10% of the Indonesian populations are served by these water supply programs. And the interesting thing about PAMSIMAS is actually the PAMSIMAS in the guideline, the PAMSIMAS guideline, it requires to have at least 40% of the water board to be women. So they have to include women as the to be part of the water board. So water board here is the CBO, the group of people that comes from that village who manage the water supply system. So actually, the guideline, the regulations require women must be participate in the PAMSIMAS program. Okay, and this is the project background. So we got the first batch of the KONEKSI, 2023, 2024. The idea is we want to support the BAPNAS, the Ministry of National Development Planning, and to support the development of the national climate resilient frameworks. So we developed the instruments, the tools to assess and to monitor the climate resilience of the rural water supply programs. And the national governments actually is planning to launch the new generation of PAMSIMAS in this year, but we are still waiting for the launching. And they want to include the climate resilient aspect. So during the from the first until the third generation of PAMSIMAS, climate resilience is not really a big thing that they have to consider. But in this new generation of PAMSIMAS, they want to include the climate resilience and GENC aspect. That's why we try to support the national governments in developing these kind of programs. And the program itself covers three big topics. The first one is technical aspects, which is led by us from UGM. The GENC and social aspects was led by our colleagues from UI. And the institutional regulation aspects was led by CRPG and all the coordinator for the whole project is UTS. We did studies in 5 provinces, but for the GENC aspect, we only focus on 4 provinces. And I will share some findings from these 4 provinces. Okay, before we talk about GENC, I want to share a bit about the conditions of the rural water supply in Indonesia. So as I said, we support the national developers to develop a kind of indicator tools to monitor the climate resilience rural water supply. And from there, we develop 12 dimensions of 12 indicators, 12 dimensions, 12 factors, whatever you call it, that we can assess, that we can monitor to make sure that the rural water supply programs, they are climate resilient or they are sustainable, let's say. And we have if you can see there, the red color, the number 11 is related to GERSI, so inclusive community characteristic and processes, because we want to monitor, we just want to make sure that GERSI is one of the critical indicator that we want to measure in this tool. Next, okay, this is the results, but I will not into detail. I just want to say that in general, the condition of the rural water supply, the level is low moderate level of resilience. So let's say if there is a big climate hazard happens, and it will destroy the systems. The system will not be fully functioning, etc. So we need to improve the conditions here. But I will move to Jersey because this is the focus of our symposium. In the context of water, we know already that vulnerable groups, women, children, people with disabilities, indigenous people, etc., they are the most affected groups in the context of water. If there is a flooding, for example, there is a serious, very long drought, for example, women and children, they have to walk far away to get water. So there are many burdens, there are multiple burdens that they feel, but the thing is they are less, let's say, they are less involved in the rural water supply programs. I put here, this is one quote from our study that the lady said, during the rainy season, Pamsima's water becomes murky, hence I needed to find another water source. Buying clean water from an agent, which impacted the household economy, it all falls under me. So we can see from this quote that if there's a long drought, they have to sacrifice the money for water. Maybe they can use the money for something else, but they have to buy water because the existing water systems doesn't work well. But the thing in the context of Pamsimas, from the data, actually it looks good. Because, as I said before, the regulations require to have at least 40% of women in the water board, but the average, so let's say from 38,000 Pamsimas project in Indonesia, the average of women in the Pamsimas water board is 32%, so it's relatively good. And 32% of the Pamsimas programs have at least 40% women as the water board. So if we look at this data, it looks nice, but the reality is still we still need to improve the conditions in the field. Okay, this is just a stakeholder engagement parameters, because we hypothesize that if the participation is high, and it will increase the sustainability. I think we know already about this. But another thing that I just want to show here, this is in this one, we did another analysis, and actually we found a statistical relationship, significant relationship between the number of women in the water board and the functionality of the rural water supply. So basically, it tells you that if the number of women increase, the probability or the percentage, the probability of the rural water supply being functioning is increased also. So we need to increase the women participation in the Pamsimas program. Okay. I can control this. Okay. As I said before, we actually the goal of this project is we support the Bapanas, the Ministry of National Development Planning, in developing the climate resilient water and sanitation system. So actually, this scheme, I think you cannot see it very clear here, but there are 10 indicators that are developed by the Bapanas to measure, let's say, to assess the climate resilient water system. But if you can see from these 10 indicators or 10 features, you will see that there is no GERSI aspects among these 10 indicators. This is kind of a pity, because we say, okay, we need to include, we need to concern about GERSI, but actually among these 10 indicators, there are no there are no GERSI specific indicators. There are many aspects related to technical, financial, etc., regulation, institutional, but no points, no indicator related to GERSI. That's why in our dimensions we include the 11 one, the 11 indicator here, because we just want to make sure that all the framework related to water and sanitation, you have to consider GRC aspect. That's why we improve a bit the governance framework on this. Yeah. Yes. We did a study. We did a study among 56 consumers across the country. If I remember, there are more than 10 provinces from here. And as I said, we have the number 11 here related to GERSI. The condition is relatively good. So 52% out of 100. So let's say the moderate level of gender and inclusive water management. Let's say the condition is moderate. But if we go in detail to the question, so there are two questions related to this one. The first one is, do female water board members have influence in the decision-making process? And 75% of them say that yes, women have influence in the decision-making process. But if we go to the second question, whether the water board, they ever invited vulnerable groups, and only 26%, one of them say that yes, we ever invited the vulnerable groups. So basically, it's a kind of tricky here, because we have to. Okay, the first one, they say women have influence, but they are rarely invite the vulnerable groups. So, but another thing is this is a self-assessment. So we don't interview them and we feel it themselves, but they feel it themselves. So maybe we need to validate this finding, whether it is true or not. The number of 52% is correct or not. Yeah, and as I said, we did GERSI focused research in 4 provinces: West Java, Riau, West Kalimantan, and East Nusa Tenggara. These 4 provinces represent 4 big islands in Indonesia, except Papua. We didn't go there because it's too expensive. But yeah, okay, we did a study in West Java from Java, Riau from Sumatra, West Kalimantan, and East Nusa Tenggara from the middle south of Indonesia. We did FGD interview, etc. And we used from the analysis, from the interview FGD, we analyzed them using the gender continuum framework. So the framework consists of 4 categories. The first one is insensitive. This is the worst category. And sensitive, responsive, and transformative. Okay, and you can see here, this is the results that, let's say, most of the Baunsima systems, they are not transformative. Only 3 systems, they are transformative. They actively involve the women. The woman maybe becomes the leader of the water boards, and etc. etc. And one of them are insensitive. So basically, let's say most of the job are done by men. Women cannot come to the meeting. They don't invite women, etc. etc. And one third are sensitive, and another is responsive. So let's say we still need to improve the GRC aspects in the Baunsima system, even though the data shows that about 30% of the Baunsima system in the country, they have women. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's consider the framework again. As I said, the Baunsima regulations require 40% women as the water boards, and we can say actually the Baunsima regulation, we can categorize them as responsive because they consider the gender norms, the dynamics. But if we see the framework, the national framework from the Bappenas about the climate reason in WASH, maybe we can categorize them as sensitive, because it's not explicitly consider or aim to reduce gender inequality. So we need to improve even the national frameworks regarding the climate resilient goals. Okay, here are some quotes from the paper that are developed by our colleagues from UI. And you can see, for example, the number 1 here, a lady from Riau say that there is because of active involvement of the women, they even tell the CBO member, the water boards, to do a membrane to install water filter to improve the water quality. So basically, if the women they are participated or they are they are given the chance to speak, it will improve the conditions. And the second one is about the technical matters. So the female members they are involved not only in administration and finance things but also technical matters. So these two examples are from a good consumer systems. But let's see the another other four quotes. For example, number three, there's another lady say that okay, the meeting only involve men, women only follow the decision making, the decision makes. And the number four, the meeting often held at night, so the husband forbid, the woman's the wife to join the meeting. And number five, they say that another woman say that we are aware of the regulations, but we have limited control over the implementation. So they know that okay, so they know about the regulations, but they cannot change the situation. And number six, they say that okay, we have a lot of things to do. We cannot join the water boards because we have to take care of our children's house, etc. Okay, okay, this is more or less similar to the previous quotes that I show you. Okay, yeah, this is just an example. Actually, this is not part of the KONEKSI projects, but we did another study about the participation of people with disability in sanitation programs. And it's a big context. In the previous session, we talked about the system thinking approach. Yeah, we did the analysis using that approach. And I just want to address one thing here that the barrier to inclusive participations can come from three levels. Let's say the first one is from the governments, can be the province level, national level, and to the PS level, and even the barrier can come from the disabled people themselves. Because they think, for example, in our case, they expect money if they want to be invited to the programs, etc. And even there are barriers from the family or the community. So these three kind of barrier from different actors, we have to consider them. We have to tackle them. Okay, this is the last slide, I think. Yeah. Maybe I will jump to the number two, the second point here, that the strong political will and policy is needed because we want to change the environment. As I say that there are kind of gender stereotype that okay, women they can involve in the rural water supply programs, but they cannot be the leader. They just focus on the financial things. We cannot ask them to be a leader, for example. So to change this kind of norms, social norms, there must be a strong political will to change this. And also we need to do a capacity building. I just want to address here capacity building to the government's body because many of the government organizations, they don't know why we have to include women, why we have to include people with disability in the conversation, in the workshops. And another thing is how to include them. Because in our finding, we found that, okay, we want to invite people with disability, but we don't know how to communicate with them, for example. So they have, so that's why I just want to highlight, one thing is that we have to do capacity building with the government bodies to tell them how to include, how to invite, how to engage people with disabilities and vulnerable people in the conversation. I think that's okay. I think that's all my. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel, for the rich and informative presentation. So you just enlightened us about these RWS, Rural Water Supply Programs, from UGM, and then before that one, Universitas Papua. Now we go to Universitas Diponegoro, Undip. Our last speaker for this session, for the first session, we have Ms. Ida Apriliani from Universitas Diponegoro. So that's her title. She'll be talking on flood management, inequality, and everyday struggles in coastal Semarang. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Ida.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity given to us to present our research findings. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous here. Please bear with me. So, our research, for today's symposium, I will share about flood management, inequality, and everyday struggles in coastal Semarang. So our project, but first I will introduce our project. So our project titled From Technical to Socio-Ecological Pathways for Climate Change Adaptation, Analysis of Flood in Semarang. This project is funded by KONEKSI, and this is a collaboration between university and government. We have researchers from the University of Queensland and Universitas Diponegoro, and also from the government side, we have partners from Pemerintah Kota Semarang and Brisbane City Council. Yeah. So this project basically started because we know that Semarang face continuous flood, and also this flood is to be in time and also regular. So the government of Kota Semarang, they has built many infrastructure to mitigate this project in the last 20 years, but there are lack evidence on the impacts of the flood infrastructure for the community. This impact we talk here is not only limited to the how flood infrastructure impacting flood itself, but also to think about what are the impact on the economic, social, gender, and physical dimension within the communities. So basically, based on that background, we have several aims here. We are trying to build a comprehensive database on those flood infrastructure built in Kota Semarang. We're also trying to analyze the impact of those flood infrastructure, build an assessment framework, and then produce evidence-based policy recommendation. And this project also had to strengthen partnership between academic and government organizations in the Brisbane and Semarang as part of Sister Cities project. So here I will show you our case studies. We have 4 case studies here. Here in the east part, we have Kelurahan Kemijen. We analyze the impact of boulder banner. And then here in Kaligawe, there are 2 infrastructure projects. It's Banjir Kanal Timur Normalization and Boulder Waru that we analyze the impact to the community. And in the west part, we have Mangkang Wetan, and we analyze bringing river normalization. And in the upstream area of Kota Semarang, we have case studies in Kamri, and we analyze Jati Barang impact to the communities. For our project activities, we have done desktop review and topic relation to flood and jet sea. We also have built those flood infrastructure database. There are 47 projects that has built in Kota Semarang for the last 2 decades. And for the collection, we have done observation, interviews with community leaders, with academic, government, and local NGOs. We also have done activities in each case study with women and men participants separately. And at the end of the project, we done the stakeholder workshop. And for the data analysis, we designed conceptual analytical framework, and based on the impact that we analyzed, we designed assessment framework. The dissemination of our result, we have done a conference presentation, guest lectures and seminars, publication, policy brief, and online seminars. So if we get a further finding, we are planning to apply the assessment framework to several case studies. We're also planning to co-design of policy recommendation and building capacity at the community level to strengthen the community's ability to engage in advocacy using evidence-based knowledge. Okay. So I will first tell you about the context of Kota Semarang. Kota Semarang is a coastal city in the northern Java, and this city faces rapid urban development and population growth. Some studies shows that the urban development scale are higher compared to the population growth in Kota Semarang. So it shows that the land conversion to built up area is super massive in Kota Semarang. It creates the city vulnerable to flood. On another hand, the city also prospered 21 major rivers and built on alluvial plains that make the city highly vulnerable to land subsidence, and the land there subside up to 20 centimeters per year. Now, please take a look on the comics of our right side. So, there are hilly part of Kota Semarang and then the coastal area of Kota Semarang. In the hilly part, on the upper side of the Kota Semarang, there are massive land use conversion to built up areas. And then in the coastal area, there are sea level rise, bad drainage system, and then also excessive groundwater extraction. That this makes special inequality within the community of Kota Semarang. The community in the coastal area face multiple vulnerable due to this condition. And because of multi-dimension of these vulnerabilities, it makes the city facing tidal, fluvial, and fluvial flood. And now 50 out of 177 kelurahan in Kota Semarang are regularly affected by floods. And in response to that, government implement a range of flood infrastructure. This is the spatial distribution of the flood infrastructure that has been in Kota Semarang. You can scan this barcode if you want to check our database. But basically, the concept of the flood mitigation infrastructure implemented in Kota Semarang is the government built the dams in the upstream, and then on the downstream, they built river normalization, they built pump and folder system, they also built the gates or toll road. Yeah, so basically, we know that there are inequality in the social and spatial way, that this inequality creates greater exposure to the vulnerability group, the vulnerable group that we mentioned here are poor households, women, children, and old people, disabled people, and they are facing greater exposure to climate hazard. They also face greater susceptibility to damage caused by climate hazard, and they have less ability to cope with and recover from the damage caused by the climate hazard. And they are most likely live in a disaster-prone area. And this multiple situation create intersectionality and make them face disproportionate loss of asset and income. So that's why it needs adaptation practice to respond to climate change. And those adaptation practices are done by the communities and also government. Even with the different scale, the communities do it on a very small and local scale, while the government in this context is Kota Semarang with their resource, they're trying to tend to focus only on the technical infrastructure to manage the disaster there. Our study shows that this flood infrastructure, yes, it's reducing flood there, but on another side, there are impact on the economic, social, physical, and ecological dimension that sometimes been overlooked and forgotten, and this will create hardly impacting more the vulnerable groups. Here, we are trying to map out, maybe it's kind of hard to understand in this picture, but this is we trying to put all of the impact that we analyze within the community and putting it in every case study that we have. So this is trying to show you how many impacts that one community have compared to the others, and those refers to this. So there is some dimension that we analyze in relating to the flood infrastructure impact. So there are flood infrastructure impact on the flood itself. We also analyze flood infrastructure impact on livelihood or economic, on housing, on infrastructure. Basically, there are 7, but I will show you the purpose. So this code is F1 for the resemble the on impact on flood. So the green, there are orange, and there are red. The green refers to the positive impact that the community face. The orange refers to neutral impact, and the red one refers to negative impact. So this is trying to show that on the infrastructure, there are much more positive impact compared to the negative one. In the economic aspect dimension, they have much same for the negative and positive impact, but here in the social and environmental dimension, they're facing much more negative impact compared to the positive one. So I'm sorry I can't explain this impact one by one because I don't have time to explain it one by one. This is a lot of impact, but I will show you how now non-Wetan community struggles to in their everyday life due to the flood mitigation infrastructure that built there. So in Mangkang Wetan, the government will bring in river normalization. This project basically the government widen up the river from 4 meters to 14 meters wide, and they also build this embankment along the river. And because of they widen up the river, they need land to do that. And it took around 70 families to relocate it from this area. This makes the socialization process time to focus more on these people to make them satisfied with the relocated with the compensation money, and it also the process of the socialization very top down. So the government comes with a final plan that the government cannot do anything to that plan. While it also the community know that this will create social tension and also change of livelihoods for them. So this is I try to put the condition in Mangkang Wetan in the special setting of Mangkang Wetan. So this is the river normalization that we talk about, and the black one is refers to the embankment along the river, and because of the river now very wide, the government needs to build bridge, but there are social tension here, there are land disputes here that make the government cannot build a proper bridge due to those land disputes, and it makes the community of the at east side and west side of the Kelurahan Mangkang Wetan have a limited and dangerous access to each other, while the community here on the east part of Mangkang Wetan, they also face inadequate drainage channel. So this you can see here, this is the drainage, the only drainage channel that built by the government after the river normalization, and it's not connected to the main river. So the water is stuck within the community's housing, and it causing environmental problem, and also it polluting the fish pond around here. It gives multi layers impact to the communities, and also this construction of the river normalization make the housing damage, housing near this river construction site, the housing damage, and the communities, the owners of the house get no compensation at all. In the other side of Mangkang Wetan here, it is paddy field area in Kelurahan Mangkang Wetan, and the irrigation channel here that also are connected to the river. So now the farmers in Kelurahan Mangkang Wetan, they cannot actively producing, they cannot actively work in their paddy field because there's no water for their paddy field now. And they have to shift livelihood and become casual workers in order to make the living. And because of this river normalization also, there are small river here in the area of Mangkang Wetan that also not connected to the main river. It makes a new source of life in this community. And this example of Kelurahan Mangkang Wetan of the river normalization that not consider the socio-ecological economic aspect within the community, it creates multi-layers of vulnerable to the community. And even they being in a vulnerable state, the community trying to adapt as much as possible as they can by, for example, for the farmers group, they built this informal dam. So using sandbags to make the water level higher so that it could enter the irrigation system. So the irrigation channel is in areas here, but this dam is super vulnerable to strong floods. And the type of floods that happen in the Kelurahan Mangkang Wetan is flash flood. So if the dam broke, the farmers will find it super difficult to rebuild this due to their limited financial resource. And because it took them maybe 2 years to build this dam, to finally able to build this dam, on those 2 years, they had to find new livelihood opportunities as a casual workers and factory workers. And in relation to the house that broken because damaged because of the construction of this normalization, they upgrade their house, the community. Some only do it partially because of their limited resources. they only allocate one room of their house, or some others family could do the economic upgrading by take loan from the bank. And for the people in the northeast part of Manggang Wetan, they're also now cultivating mangrove to tackle tidal flood. And yeah, this is my last slide. And for the flooding in Semarang, it's clearly shown that it is not only technical problem, but it's more a socio-ecological challenges that require a comprehensive approach. And those comprehensive approach need to integrate not only think about engineering, but also ecology and social justice. And obviously, the community should be the one involved in the decision-making process. The involvement here is not only by calling them to the socialization and make them listen to the final design, final plan, but putting them as the one who making the decision, because they are the one who experience, because the one who understand the situation, and they are the one who going to be impacting first for the whatever decision the government makes. And in terms of policy, also it is critical to enforce the policy, because actually the government of Kota Semarang, they already have a land use regulation and also policy in related to rainwater extraction, but the enforcement is slow there. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you so much, and I was very happy to receive further attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Ida. Mbak Ida, you said that you were nervous. You did an excellent job. Your presentation was wonderful. It's very clear. So congratulations. Okay, now let's move on. We'll hear comments and also reflections from our three esteemed panelists. We have Ibu Anne, Professor Emerita Anne, and we will have also Ibu Malin, Dr. Malin, and you'll have we have Associate Professor Firman Ikral, Pak Firman. Please, yeah, I'm inviting you, three panelists, to come to the stage. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. So, well, so this one is for the speakers. Oh, the speakers. Sorry, speakers. It's not panelists. So panelists disappear, and then speakers, please come to the stage. I'm inviting you to come to the stage. Right. Okay. So should we should we start from Ibu Anne, Ibu Merlin, atau Pak Firman? Silakan. Do we have two microphones? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Speak up. And you try to speak. Yeah. One by one. Yes, one by one. Right. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for a really, really fantastic presentation. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I would like to sort of just sort of reflect on your project. I guess a couple of questions around and this could also relate to the other two presenters as well. What are some of the challenges that you face, the research team, in integrating GETSI, and we know that GETSI is more than just gender, it's people with disability, but also other marginalized groups in your research. And I guess particularly what are the strategies that you've employed to make sure that you capture the diversity of perspectives and experiences in your research design? And also, I think really one thing that stood out for me is you talked about the loss of village and biodiversity as an example that's used selfish. And I wonder about the impact on the loss of indigenous cultural knowledge passing from one generation to another. We know that those stories are captured of our parents, grandparents passing on, the children constantly collecting selfish, and consider that impact of that cultural loss.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ibu Marilyn. So should we collect or perhaps we just give Ibu Anne first and Pak Dirman, and then so then they can answer if there are questions at the same time.
This presentation, this is working. That's right. Hello? Yes. Okay. First of all, I thought these presentations were wonderful, really interesting. And also they show some consistent themes throughout them. One of them was the increased responsibilities for women, both in being having to deal with impacts of climate change, environmental degradation, all of those kinds of things that increases the burdens for women, but also in being included also increases the burdens for women. And so we heard that one of the reasons that women are maybe reluctant or to join water boards is because that just is yet one more responsibility that they have to do in addition to all the other responsibilities, many of which have increased because of the problems that water boards are trying to address. So it's sort of a a conundrum, how to manage both the additional burdens and additional responsibilities that come with inclusions. So that was a really interesting thing that runs through these projects. Each one was really interesting. I thought that the focus on intersectionality as well as inclusion was really important, so that often the problems that sue for women and other disadvantaged or marginalized groups isn't just a single problem, but it's a compounding of problems. If you are a group that is not included, if you have fewer resources, poor, if you are marginalized in a variety of different ways, the burdens are going to be that much higher. That was very interesting thing that came through. And then, of course, the failure of top-down approaches. I think it's become so clear that even with the best of intentions for real top-down projects often don't include realities of life on the ground. They don't understand all the ramifications of the problems they're trying to address, and they are often either create additional problems or are subject to failure. And similarly, the points about purely technical approaches. Technical, all of these problems, they may entail technical issues. Some of what was described about the efforts to deal with ongoing flooding reminded me very much of all the efforts in coastal Alaska to try to deal with rising sea levels, melting sea ice, basically encroaching levels of the oceans that in technical solutions may last for years. Most of the experience has been that they are a very tiny band-aid to a problem that doesn't last very long. So all of these kinds of problems have to develop much more comprehensive solutions. And back to the whole issue of transformative change. I think it's really important to not just try to fix little specific problems with little specific technical solutions, but looking at the larger systemic approaches and being inclusive in terms of how those issues are approached and getting everybody's participation. So thank you. These were wonderful projects. I'm so impressed with the work that you all are doing. Each one was really enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Pak Firman.
Thank you. I also want to extend, I'm impressed with all this presentation, and I know, and also about the project, the breadth and the coverage, not in terms, only in terms of the geographic area, but also about the topic. And there's a lot of similarities in the project, all this make method and interdisciplinary work, and that speaks to the design of the grant that encourage teams to from different groups to work together, and all the projects developed something that's actionable. On a specific, I'd like to now talk a little bit about more specifically for each one. For the first one, it's really incredibly rich quality data set that you collect, then report and document, and I think it would be great if you can try to do some groups with quantitative or big data, because people are talking about how they observe changes in climate, in sea level, that could even actually, trying to with existing data sets. And I think for the last two projects, both develop a project that develop tools, assessment tools, monitoring tools that can be used, and that's useful. But there's always a danger of having the new tools that only become another thing to tick your boxes and sway incentive or say your activity for just completely doing assessment, especially if the tools are mostly self-assessed. There's always a danger of biases there, and probably important to think about how to validate those self-assessing tools. But I think everything is good. It's all very impressive, and I'd like to learn more about this project. Also from the strategy. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, all the distinguished panelists. Now, I would like to turn to this one, to the speaker. So, would you like to respond, Dr. Apina?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the remarks that's given. Well, the first one related with the challenge that we face in our research. Well, the most challenge is, I think, to put in the policy, because like most of the government, they're aware about the importance of gender things, but in order to respond, to put in the policy things, it's quite things that need to be done. I mean, like we have to really come with the local government. Even in the local government itself, we have an example when we come to one region. Even the Department of the Women, they also say about this challenge. All of the activity related with the women, mostly even the top leader, they don't how do I say, they don't really put they need to inform something like that. So it is a challenge for us related with the policy. So I think maybe from our point of view, we can make a kind of policy brief in order to help them, because maybe whether they understand or not, or whether they know about this issue or not. And also related to the loss of cultural heritage. One child in Indonesia, because of these changes, they also have like cultural knowledge or something like wisdom, cultural wisdom, like they say cultural concept. They mentioned yaka in order to keep and to keep their environment from other the outsiders in the world. So we need to put together the cultural field in order in policy in order to support them. And procurement, I think, yeah, it's a nice thing from the qualitative. We also try to make the mapping to see the change in the like 50, 20 or 50 years about the, how do I say, the area of the mangrove and then the tidal wave or the, how do I say, yeah, coastline, the changes of the coastline. So we can like match between the qualitative and the quantitative. That's maybe the trend.
Thank you for the feedback for all of the panelists. Maybe I will try to respond first from the Professor Mali in relation to the challenge and strategy we face with doing this research. So the challenge is mainly in relation to get the data from the vulnerable community, especially to disabled people in terms of the impact of the flood infrastructure. Because the flood in Semarang is happened for it's since 1970, it's already happened. So the community with disabled people, they already have their adaptation strategy. So when there is a flood infrastructure built in their community, it's more likely not giving any impact at all. But we are not. This is not what we are trying to see. We are trying to see what are these flood infrastructure impacting them. That's our main focus. But in order to that, we're also putting the flood impact to this community. And for the strategy, we do interviews to the family with the disabled people and then to women in the environment that more friendly for them in their own house for them, so it is safer for them, so for them to enter it. And also, but even if with this, we still face challenges. Like for example, in one of the interviews we had with a family with disabled people that their child has a mental disorder. Sorry. So whenever we are asking in relation to what is how this one is impacting their family, especially their disabled child, the kids is not happy with the question and they're angry because people stranger coming to their house and asking for them. So we're trying to not doing that. Well, and in relation to the top-down report, top-down solution process, so the government comes in the socialization process in the Kelurahan Makawetan. They come with a final plan, I mentioned before, and actually the farmers community already voiced up their concern. They said like, oh, if your design of and regionalization like this, our paddy field does not get any water. But then the government responding by saying, we are doing this project to overcome the flash flood, while your irrigation is not part of this aim of the project. That's what the government say. While government shouldn't act like that because they have various capabilities to also integrate the needs of the local communities there. But they're not listening to this community, so the community doing the adaptation exercises, particularly those informal there, but also people from the repurposing agency, PPWS, they are hardly against those informal dam, and but they're not giving any solutions. So that's the only way that the farmers community think could help them to get the water to irrigate their field. And in relation to the assessment framework, so the assessment framework, we are planning to testing out that in our future research if we get next funding. So this is this type of assessment that given to the community that they do the self-assessment. So not the government who do the self-assessment, but the community. So and it also will give how the community is perceiving those flood infrastructure and trying to make this more valid because it comes from the community, and we're also trying to, in our next plan, we're also trying to integrate this within the policy of Kota Semarang. So that's why it's part of our next project aim to integrate this with the policy, as a policy recommendation to Kota Semarang.
Yeah, thank you. I want to respond first to Marlens about the challenge to integrate GSC. In the context of PAMSIPAS projects, the rural water supply programs, actually, the challenge now is not to integrate GSC because the policy is there. I mean, the regulation is there. They have 40% of the water board must be in regulations. But the questions now is how can we monitor the implementation in the field? There's another things that we have to deal with. I think in many contexts in Indonesia, we are very good in the regulations and policy. There are many policy here, but to monitor them, there's another things. For example, in the context of PAMSIPAS, there is a dashboard. So in the dashboard, there are many items, many instruments there, including the percentage of women who are the water boards and the percentage of women who are participated in the in many activities in the PAMSIPAS. But the data is only for the beginning of the projects. So the challenge now, whether they update all the data, that's another thing because actually the government expects the water board to regularly update the data. But again, we know we are dealing with, let's say, 38,000 water supply villages in Indonesia, and they are lazy to update the data. So we cannot really monitor the progress, the number of women, the integration of GSC in the program, etc. So I think my point is not to, in the context of PAMSIPAS, not to integrate GSC to the policy, but how to monitor it because it's already in policy. But now how to monitor it. And another thing I want to respond to Prof. Anwar first. It's very interesting that you say that comprehensive solution. So in the context of let's say water engineers, let's say. So actually, when we say about the comprehensive solutions, we have to propose not just hardware solution but software solutions. What I mean by hardware is usually as engineers we develop the tools, we develop the dam, we develop the water supply, etc., etc. But the thing, we don't develop the capacity of the local people. What I mean is the software aspect. We don't really care about this. Actually, in PAMSIPAS programs, that's why I'm really proud of the PAMSIPAS programs because actually the design, the projects consider both aspects. So hardware, you have to build very good water supply systems. You have to consider protect the water resource, etc., etc. But you have to do capacity building also with the local community. But in the reality, they only focus on the hardware aspects, not the software aspects. Actually, in the regulations, they are required before they build the system. So, before that. So actually, the PAMSIPAS project is not top-down approach, but bottom-up approach. So all the initiatives must come from the village. But even not from the village office, from the community, not from the village office. So they have they have the initiative, they tell the district office, we need water. Please give us money, and then the national government give, I think, about 70% of the money for the whole projects, and 30% must come from the community. So the incorporation of the local people is really strong in the PAMSIPAS projects at the beginning of the projects. But then in reality, before that, and they have to do kind of promotional activities to develop the behavior of the people. For example, they have to tell the people, okay, if you want to get water, you have to pay monthly, etc., etc. But the thing is, because the national government really want to make the projects finish as soon as possible, they completely forget the software part and just focus on the hardware part, and they don't build the capacity of the people, the software aspects. So I would say that if we say about comprehensive interventions in the context of PAMSIPAS or water supply programs, we have to strengthen the software aspects, the people itself. The thing is, the national government in Indonesia, we have, how do you call this? Satu tahun anggaran, year budget, 1 year. You have to finish all the project in 1 year. But the thing is, to build the people, we need 1 2 years. And the thing is, okay, we have to finish it, and then they just completely forget the software aspect, but they just focus on hardware aspect. So I would say, if you want to make sure the JETSI implementations works in the Pamsimas projects, we really need to focus on software, extend the projects for 2 years, for example, do the capacity building for 1 year, and then after they are ready, and they build the system. I think that's my point.
Thank you so much, and please join me in thanking our panelists. Now it's the Q&A session, so I'm so sorry we only have 5 minutes. So please, I need only two people here, and your questions need to be very, very short, and your answer also need to be very, very short. Okay, please. Yes, this lady with the blue veil and Professor in the phone. Okay, yes.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the presentation and thank you for this meeting. I am Dina Rahmayati. I come from Ministry Public Works on the Regional Infrastructure Development Agency. I'm really very lucky that I can attend this meeting because I know the information from the outside, not from the office, but the session too. I got what I need really in my institution. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel and Miss Ida for the presentation and Miss Alvin also. But I want to focusing in the two presenter, the last presenter, because it is very connected with Ministry Public Works. First of all, for the Miss Ida, it is very interesting because your analysis about the impact and the outcome of the infrastructure that it is very rare that we in our institution we rarely done it, and it is very will be beneficial for us. And I can make a suggestion for you and maybe for the annual Indonesian project to give the presentation or the report for to the Ministry Public Works in the ministry, not the BPWS, because you said that the BPWS is have to comment because the irrigation said that it is not integrated with their project, but I think it is one direction, one directorate, so it must be synchronized and integrated. And I wanted to know more about the outcome of the economic, because you said that the economic, but you don't have give us different data about the impact of the economic, and it is also for the Mr. Daniel. For the Pamsimas, I really agree with your report that it is actually it is a community based, and it should conclude all the community and the women and etc. to take a part from the project, but actually that's not easy to include them. And I would like to impact. Is there any impact outcome of the economic from the Pamsimas right? By the Pamsimas, it is multiplying the economic or not?
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. And Pak Budi and Bu Jena, you have homework. Excellent suggestion. Thank you. And please answer just very briefly because we have, or just I just ask, Professor Meiling Oi first. Your question.
I'll be very short. But first of all, I would like to congratulate all of you for very interesting, very excellent work. Thanks very much. There's one issue, and that is, you're really trying to find out. I only want to focus on the role of women, okay? Because I've never studied this area. Okay. I noticed that after the PKK, okay, the women they were always in charge of money, okay? After that was that experience, it's when women came up, okay? There are no characteristics that you ever mentioned. In what cases do you have women's involvement and good involvement? And in what cases don't you? Because what that was, money was always held by women. Okay, and that is power, right? And that changed an awful lot, at least that's what I feel in my surroundings. Is it, are the women that are involved in any of your projects? Okay. You didn't mention any of their characteristics. The other variable that's also very important in getting increasingly numbers of women involved is education. And that I also didn't hear from any of you. Is it because they want women, or is it, oh well, women are supposed to be involved, let them come if they want to? Those are completely different issues. Okay. If the project wants women, you have to get them. Who are they? And that's, I hope you know who they are.
Thank you so much, Professor Melly. Okay, very brief response from three of you, so that we can have afternoon tea after this.
Maybe I would like to start first. Thank you, Ms. Gina, for the response. So in relation to the policy brief, we already have the policy brief to tell briefly about our project and the findings to give it to the government, and also talking about the economic impact of the flood infrastructure. As I mentioned before, there is a shifting livelihood because of the unirrigated paddy field. It is in the case of Kelurahan Pangkawetan, but the other case in the Kelurahan Kaligawe. So in Kaligawe, the government built a normalization of Banjir Kanal Timur, and along the riverbank, they are planning to make it as a pasar malam, but it's hampered due to COVID-19, and now the government have the initiative to make use of that area, but they got no permission from the BBWS. So they can't use it for this economic opportunity, but they already planned it. But the government from the BBWS not giving any permission for the community to do that. And from
Okay, thank you. Thank you. 1 minute for Pak Dan and 1 minute for
Yeah, there's some questions about the economic impact of Pamsimas, yes, but maybe indirect impact, so not really direct impact. What I mean by indirect impact is if the women usually they need to walk far to get water, for example, and if the water comes directly in their house, so they can have time to do other things. Maybe more indirect impact, not direct impact. Actually, in Pamsimas water boards, if they are part of the water board, they can get kind of incentive, but not all Pamsimas they have this kind of incentive. So if the woman is part of the leadership, for example, of the treasurer or secretary, you will get kind of incentive, monthly incentive from the fee that are collected from the people.
Okay, maybe I will respond to Prof. Madli. Well, for the characteristic of the woman, mostly, if I can see from the near to the city part, it's there is a housewife, but also woman with the educational background. But if they are far from the city, of course, only housewife that are included in a project something.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Please join me in thanking our speakers. Thank you so much. And so let's have a short break. So we will reconvene again at 3:10. Thank you so much.
Are you okay? I'm exhausted. I can
Okay.
But you going to give your feedback as well for the discussion.
Very nice, very targeted.
Right, yeah, not so bad. Oh iya, saya bilang
Giving this. So you do this. And that's what Actually, my friend is oh, okay. Yeah. What's the voice she's actually gonna be in the research here. Totally. The one that is I know what's in the I always go first. So yeah, it's been this is all ladies. Somebody, if you would like. Sure. This is Maria Ari.
Exactly 14 people.
Ladies, I would like to introduce Tina. She is an alumni of ANU and is posted with the US Embassy.
Yes.
Since August. Yeah, I was at ANU for 1 semester last year. I'm at the university. Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, I've been wanting to go to an Indonesian for but yeah, I'm an economics, so I've talked with some economic counterparts. And also previously like yeah, and then we just had a meeting with Rebecca Valentine. Unfortunately, regarding the there was a USAID project that DFAT had donated given money to, and now has been canceled, sadly, related to WASH. So it's working on getting it back. Yeah, I was like a water sanitation.
So you're not on the USAID, but
I'm not on the USAID side. I'm on the State Department side. Yeah, so I was this is my area of responsibility, but we're all kind of trying to figure out what we're doing instead now. It's sad. It's on off the floor. But what do you? Okay, yeah.
so back in the
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
And grants are development side.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So there's yeah. Yeah, and then change. I work with my friend in Canada, Elise. Yeah. She's yeah. So I knew her in Kuwait when we were both close, and then I was in Canada. So I know she's. No, the State Department. Yeah.
But you were posted in
Kuwait with them, yeah. With Elise and David, her husband. She's great. She had been trying to get here for a while, so it's so nice. Marilyn, nice to meet you. I love to talk there. Okay, so you're posting you're okay. Yeah, unfortunately, you're not as much to me. We have colleagues in our political sector that are with you. Yeah, all to implement these 2 months. Really, yeah, and then all of the implementers. Yeah. Right. August 15th. Yeah. So, how long are you all here for? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was much okay. Well, maybe not where the continuation of the government. Yes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, on a personal level, yeah.
You know, I don't know.
That is hard.
So because of the yeah, so it's like I really
This happens.
Exactly. My Canadian friends are the same thing. It's like
getting the global south people.
exactly. Right. Are you a fan or? It was great. I lived in one partner lived in Canberra, so what put me there, and I was attending ANU for a semester. So did you want to get some tea?
And then,
masih belajar satu kali lagi.
Stop bringing everyone in. Oh, yeah. Ada Pak? Yes. Yeah. I saw it.
Governing program Indonesia.
Very rich. Always rich. Sebagai apa? So you're
on time. So, for the session, it will be chaired by Associate Professor Firman, who is also affiliated with the ANU Indonesia project. So, Firman is Associate Professor at the Uncoder Department of Economics, Harvard School of Public Policy.
Oh, this is a style economy success. Please, Firman, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the symposium. We have the second session now. We're about to start. In the second session, we're going to showcase two connected projects, which is going to be presented by both from people from BRIN, researchers from BRIN. The first one will be Dr. Liz Mulyani from BRIN. Project that will be evaluating the contribution of social forestry management rights toward climate-proof livelihood of women and men in Indonesia, and this is the title of the presentations. And this is a project together with Pupuk, Aceh Foundation, Mr. Erlangga, Melbourne, and Green. Please, Liz Mulyani.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted to be invited in this forum and share our research project funded by KONEKSI from 2023 and 2024. I'm representing our colleagues from Pupuk, UNER, University of Melbourne, and the Asia Foundation and Green. Our project title is Evaluating the Contribution of Social Forestry Management Rights for Climate-Proof Livelihoods of Women and Men in Indonesia. We are a group of diverse multidisciplinary researchers, mainly known each other during our PhDs. And aside from diverse disciplines, from environmental study, we are also researchers from human geography, law, agrarian studies, anthropology, economic and development. And previously, the Asia Foundation and Pupuk were working on and advocating on social forestry in several areas, including 3 different areas here in Tanjung Agung, in Muara Enim, South Sumatra, Sungai Garong in Sintang, West Kalimantan, and Kundilemo and Raikang, South Sulawesi. The 3 locations received their social forestry permits within the period of 5 years. Meanwhile, we also choose the Banyu Soco in Gunung Kidul, Yogyakarta, which has received their permit since 1997 and has practiced women leadership in social forestry for 2 consecutive periods. So, social forestry is one of the largest government programs included in Reforma Agraria and Perhutanan Sosial schemes since 2016, but it was actually has a longer history than accommodated but as the main government program to grant access to local communities' rights to manage, to access, and derive benefit from forest land and resources, aiming to improve ecosystem, empower users, and enhance livelihood. Although the Ministry of Forestry has issued many regulations and guidelines to general mainstreaming in social forestry, in practice, we found that the provisions are majorly gender neutral and overlook social and structural barriers that limit women's participation. So we also assign to multidisciplinary researchers with different disciplinary fields. We also recruit and provided ongoing mentoring to local researchers, which many are young and early career researchers. Our research objectives is to evaluate how the social forestry contribute to the livelihood of local people. So in our study, across 4 Indonesian villages with SF or social forestry management rights, we use a mixed methods, community-based approach to explore local understanding and priorities of well-being. We collected intersectionality disaggregated data across gender, generation, wealth, land holdings, and involvement in social forestry. And to capture the multidimensional and context-specific nature of well-being in forested areas,
and its connection to the forest ecosystem service and social forestry rights. We applied these multiple methods, include 60 to 18 semi-structured interviews, 20 life story interviews, which is a more in-depth interview, 40 focus group discussion, both online via WhatsApp group and in face-to-face, and that's 4 online asynchronous focus group discussions, and 400 household questionnaires. And the data is also disaggregated by not only gender and generation, but also wealth, ethnicity, including comparing between participating and non-participating households in the social forestry. Our study revealed differently position people's priority for well-being and how social forestry was aligning with this, and the distribution of this well-being benefit from social forestry within household and community. So to connect the well-being ecosystem services provided by the forest, we drew on the Voices of the Poor network framework in 2000, which includes 5 domains, and the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment 2005, which adds cultural and spiritual aspects. Together, this inform a 6-domain framework across material, relational, and subjective dimension represented in the A6 domain of well-being. And this well-being in developing countries, or WBE framework, represented by the B, the well-being framework, highlights 3 interacting dimensions of well-being: material, which is include resources and assets; relational, which includes social relationships, saving, access and use; and subjective well-being, which include how people feel about their lives. These dimensions vary across social and environmental contexts, influencing people's life experience. We combine these 2 interrelated frameworks into a framework of 6 well-being domains, which are experienced through 3 materials: relational and subjective dimension of well-being. We also offer local conceptualizations of well-being or a good life. We asked about local people concept about hidup yang baik, which captured the different views than we expected. We use an iterative process involving a series of all men and women FGDs, face-to-face and asynchronous online FGDs using WhatsApp group. This process identified that broadly across site that access to land and livelihood capitals support productive and diverse livelihood are central. So the main finding is that access to land and livelihood, which is in this particular context is access to the forest, is central. Good social relations are crucial for securing and utilizing land to sustain livelihood and in turn achieve a good life. Material and social elements underpin other interconnected well-being dimensions, including being able to perform religious pilgrimage or Hajj, contribute to cultural and spiritual practices, and provide security for one's children's future. So in the next 2 slides, which is slides 6 and 7, we gathered the data from qualitative and cross-check it with the quantitative data on the well-being priorities across the 6 dimensions in the Voice of the Poor and Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. For example, a Dayak woman in Sungai Garong said that living well in the village means working in ladang fields or tapping rubber. Ladang is the most meaningful and beneficial for us. Likewise, tapping rubber is the best income earning activity. Or in other interview, for example, a Japanese man said that living well means being happy, it's feeling, and it's not about material things. So in this particular data, we assess different dimensions from material well-being: access to land or land ownership, including access to the forest, capital, housing, food, social relation, bodily well-being or health, culture, spiritual, security, and freedom of choice. Interestingly, when we talk about freedom and choice, most of the respondents talk about having the ability to choose other activities aside to work, such as doing leisure activities. In the beginning process of our research design, we used this framework from the process of the core and millennium assessment ecosystem. And our finding, however, revealed a more complex and interconnected understanding of well-being. In the next image, the right one. Land and social relation are at the center, most highly valued across all sides. These interact the state to access to and the ability to benefit from each other from within the community and to the other domains of the well-being. For instance, strong social relations can enhance relational access to and benefit from material resources like land and the forest. For example, good relation with family or community can improve the likelihood of inheriting land or access to the forest within the social forestry schemes, or calling for reciprocal labor for farming, for example, for harvesting or for planting the plants. And in material assets, including but not limited to land, access to and benefited as a result of good social relations, which help to generate a diverse and resilient livelihood, allowing farmers to maintain autonomy over their time and labor. Diversified and resilient livelihood also support material assets, a measure of wealth, to build and enable a person to pursue their cultural and spiritual well-being aspirations, for example, such as being able to go to Hajj and ensure children school and their future, and also helping achieve higher level of subjective well-being. So our localized finding over empirical insights into well-being within human-nature relations, showing that material, relational, and subjective dimensions are deeply interconnected. And while material assets are central, their benefit depends on the strong social relations. Both are essential for achieving positive subjective well-being. We also find that certain well-being domains, such as cultural practices, support positive ecological outcomes. For instance, forest-related rituals in Pundilemo in South Sulawesi, and also in Banyusoco in Gunung Kidul, for example. They help transmit intergenerational knowledge about hydrological ecosystem services, reinforcing the need to sustainable forest management. We then assess the benefit from social forestry to see how these align with local priorities for a good life. We found that social forestry permits secure land access, improve access to agricultural inputs and information, and diversified livelihood of those who knew. This is interesting because not everyone knew about the program. Even those involved in the program, sometimes they don't know this is a social forestry program. That's interesting about that. And this benefit also align particularly within the material well-being priorities that we locally. So how social forestry helps build a community resilience? Social forestry provides secure access to forest resources and the rights to manage forest resource, as well as selling forest products, but not the primary forest product, but derivative forest products. It also provides local groups involved learning spaces and opportunities, which is crucial for them in navigating changing climate conditions. For example, in the picture, foraging is one of the activities that the women in social forestry is involved in. It is an important activities that to find forest food resources, alternatives to the food resource that they usually have. For example, Ibu Teteng in Kuntilemo and Rekang sowing a wild grown taro or gadung collected in the HKM area. And location with higher rates of women participation have seen greater likelihood diversity and thus resilience, and a higher distribution of well-being and livelihood benefit across all social groups, reaching even people not directly involved in social forestry. Unfortunately, we also found that there is uneven distribution of social forestry benefits to the people in the respective village. We found that SF teams is highly uneven participant and more likely come from the wealthier household and are still predominantly male. On average, 67% of people across the village did not know about the social forestry permit in their village and gain little benefit of it. This unequal participation enables already privileged individuals to gain greater benefits than others, while women underrepresented and in forest management body, but they usually more active in the business group atau kelompok usaha perhutanan sosial KUPS. Without targeted effort to address the structural inequalities that limit women and marginalized men from participation and access to benefit, social forestry is reinforcing existing disparities and rather than reducing them. Once permit issues sustained support is needed to establish representative government structures, including in the KUPS or the business unit, where social forestry derived products are sold. And regulatory tools such as gender quotas can promote inclusion. Evidence suggests that at least 30% of female representation is required for meaningful participation. So this can enhance the inclusive participation of women in social forestry. And these are our publications so far. We are currently have an in-press journal article in People and Nature. And we have this article in the conversations. We have a policy brief, report, and some of the works led by team field researchers and other outcomes. Our future plans is to collaboratively identify strategies to enhance women participation in social forestry, involving government and non-government, co-design women-led discussion to address participation barriers, resulting in training model to support women leadership in social forestry, and other journal papers and accessible guides. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Willis, for the presentation and the output so far. And now we welcome Dr. Agus Suntoro from BRIN. This project is a support labor and climate change, keeping focus on women and children. And this is the work between scholarly work between India and Griffith University.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Agus Suntoro. I am the part of a researcher in this research about labor and climate change, keeping a focus on women and children. This is a collaboration with the Griffith University, BRIN and deepen University, and we are with them, Mas Aji and Mas Adit. We are researcher focused in Denmark and Jakarta. This is about the background my research. This is climate change is impact household finance, changing livelihood, migration to environment change, health and education, and then women and children face a double burden when it comes climate change. Not only do they face the impact of changing climate change, but they about the problem for the child marriage, child labor, and domestic and family violence. This is about the situation current in coastal area, and we want to know about the better understanding of the policies, initiative, and experience of vulnerable women and children in the coastal village. This is
You want to move that or forward? Forward?
number 3. About the case study. Yeah, the case study in case study. Case study focus in Central Java, Demak, Pekalongan, and Semarang, and then Jakarta. This is about the coastal area. More than 10 million people in coastal area in North Java. This is a map. This is number 4, 5, 5. Method. And this is a picture. But in method, we have 4 methods. The first about the policy scoping start in December 2020, and then a survey, which is responsibility for unit, and follow-up interview, in-depth interview from Green, and the last about act rentable with government and community leader. This is focus on labor, right to safety, immigration, education, poverty, and health. Next, this is a participant overview. More than 300 people, especially women and children, and then a profile of the respondent, age range 19 until 75, and then average biggest education elementary school. This is a woman, almost elementary school in the respondent, and majority married with the household size 4 or 5. And then about the children, range 10 until 70 years, and majority Japanese because the locus of research in Java and Jakarta and Betawi. Finding impact of climate change. This is finding is impacting household finance with over 80% women took part in survey report their household income had been impacted by climate change, and then 75% of women current family homes and have been damaged by disaster. This is more than 50 years. They will increase about their home because affected of climate change, and then 88% children has been seen flooding in their home, and more than 11 or 12 indicating this upward daily. Next, calculating impact of climate change. This is was women consider climate change to be happening more than 90.2%, and then special development planning or RTLW has not included Chile project for their contingency plan. This is the current situation in the RTLW in Indonesia, especially in coastal area. Next. This is about the impact of climate change. This is area of survey in Plurin and in Bedono. This is daily routine. And then in Panjang, Pekalongan, Jerusalem, Pekalongan, Tambak Loro, and Semarang, maybe once a year and average 2 times per week. But in Demak and in Jakarta is daily routine. This is the biggest problem in climate change impact. Next, the impact on women. This is women and children face a double burden, like in introduction. because the problem about the child marriage and child labor and domestic and family violence. And then all women use their income to provide for their family, to support their family economy. And women in the low income, more than 1 million until 2 million every month. And then in the government have legal protection for women in home industry, like in batik, Pekalongan, they support for batik or make fish smoke, yeah. Then or dimpil masker atau kerang hijau, pemutih kerang hijau. This is about the problem. And then next, about impact on children. This is almost of children who third-party survey work in 92.8%. This is children. The majority of children indicate they work every day. This is about the survey. This is the cyclus about the increasing of poverty, what's income increase expenses, and increase of poverty and school non-attendance, and then the last increase child labor. This is about the cyclus of the impact of children about the climate change. Next, this is times housework per week. This is the data. This is time 1 until 50 hours, 16 until 40 hours, and more 40 hours. This is about the child in labor law. This is about the empowerment. Next slide. Less than 13 women per woman were represented decision-making bodies. In Semarang, we have Semarang Women Deliberation or Musrembang Perempuan with the budget more than 50 million per sub-village to specially work women. This is will be implemented in other place. And just over 50% women had sufficient literacy, autonomy, and access to technology to use intervention effectively. And in roundtable discussion, he led an absence of focus on women and children in community discussion. Next, about the intersecting emergency issues and especially in health, only around 15 respondents reported being healthy. This is about very bad about impact of climate change. This is about physical and mental health issues like interest illness, diarrhea, flu, headaches, feeling sick, and then stunting. Stunting, the one issue in climate change, especially in Demak, in Pekalongan, and Jakarta. They produce fish, but their stunting very increased, especially after COVID-19 until now. This is about the current situation. Next, intersection emerging issues, livelihood. This is less levelized, impact traditional livelihood like agricultural sector, domestic sport, and reducing fishing catchment, resulting in women and children being forced to work in informal sector without certainty of employment relation, wage, and other right to work with family need. And then this is make a lack of alternative skill make it difficult to adapt new livelihood opportunities. They are very difficult to shifting to get new livelihood, and social cohesion impact the decision to stay with community when livelihood change. Next. Intersecting of emerging issues education, like in survey. This is school discrimination due to registration related to immigration, school discrimination due to poverty-related stigma, and school discrimination due to labor and lack of transportation. Next, this is nutrition. Yeah, in migration, there are no law explicitly responding to forced migration, the lack in regulation. Secondly, about the different policy makers in about the relocation. Maybe in Pekalongan with the construction of residential house from the government. In Semarang, the government choose to move to flat. And will Demak, the government going to host what 40 million people and the victim must provide the land. This is about the different policy maker in this migration. And then this is a situation where in 42 migration impact value and social cohesion. This is like situation in coastal area. Mobility may be more than same with the migration, but in Jakarta and Semarang, migration in like in urbanization, but in Demak and Pekalongan, there is a lot of mobility, one village to one village other, and they choose to stay in village because social connection, livelihood, and like resources. Because in Indonesia, more than maybe we look social connection bertetangga itu is choose to social connection. And then next, this is a current policy challenges. This is a new situation in Indonesian law. The first about disaster management law 2007, especially undang-undang kebencanaan, is important to address disaster in Indonesia, but is not categorized and non-sensitive in disaster. This is a new Indonesia regulation and now in process of revision for the government and legislative. And secondly, slow onset disasters as lecturer has not become a priority for local government. And third, already policy is available to accommodate people who are forced to relocate because sea level rise. And four, there is no integrated development plan to overcome sea level rise. And five, there is no priority scale for responding the mass vulnerability and damage area impact by sea level rise in coastal area. And the last, there is a gap in policy relating to adaptive social security to accommodate the impact of climate change. This is the last presentation about inclusive adaptation, learn from empowering women and children. This is the practicability. The involvement of women in decision making is important for exploring the potential, empowerment and capacity building. And then alternative livelihood can be empowering source of income for women and children, providing income from urban farming and was the bank leads to less regulation on hazard labor condition. And then this is a policy making. Maybe the government need to prepare a holistic climate change law, like in Indonesia, omnibus law or job creation law, especially in climate change law, and revising the disaster management law. And then, secondly, adaptive of local program to be included in adaptation strategies and adaptive social security planning and policy. And policy for social protection and social adaptation policy need to include in recognition of the impact of climate change. And the inclusivity, we need to collaborate and support from stakeholders, from government, private sector, industry, NGO, and from financial and capacity building. Maybe this is a report for team. And for information, we have a contract book chapter with Springer to publication 15 article about this research and to journal and secret to the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again for the presentation and for being back. And again, congratulations for your research output. Now we have time about 20 minutes for the panelists to give feedback, and welcome Professor Budi Sudarmo, and then after that Evanisa to Associate Professor Evanisa to give feedback. Combined 30 minutes.
Yeah, first of all, again, I would like to echo Pak Firman to congratulate the presenter. So my so certainly both are So certainly both research are interesting and well defined, but I will try to be a bit clinical. So the first on the first research, I understand the value of showing a variation of well-being among those who are living in an area that is assigned to be a social forestry. But I think what we more interesting is to see whether that is actually what is the cause of social forestry to the people in terms of their well-being. Is it because of the social forestry they actually have improved well-being? And I think you need to design it a little bit different so you can have a control and a treatment group to be able to do that. Now, the second thing that I would like to encourage is, well, this morning we talked a lot about norms. Professor N arguing about norm and it has been a lot of simple. Basically, what we want is to understand the deep root of various issues, including the issue, the problem of gender participation in many aspects of social life. Now, so then I would like to encourage your research is even just look at portrait variation. This is because of norm, they get differences. Different norms in different places. You get really the explanation. So that probably the two things that I would like to encourage to think a bit more for the first reason. And for the second one, almost similar. I think you might want to follow the first researcher to do several methodologies. But at the moment, it's hard to see what you see is cause of what. You take a picture for like we try to take a picture, but we don't really know that this picture come up from climate change or it has been there before we talk about climate change. For example, we argue about double burden. Well, even if we could assume that there's no climate change, also there's things happen. So, yeah, I guess a better design on how you're going to portrait and understanding what is your portrait is very important. And I guess it's also important not to over-interpret your portrait. So if it's just showing variation, but we don't know why it is varied, we just mentioned it like that. Thank you.
Okay, echoing Pak Firman and Pak Budi, congratulations. It's very impressive hearing the progress of your research, and especially you both are very productive. Lots of publications, that's excellent. Okay, so both research have your projects have helped us to deepened our understanding of how to support marginalized groups, especially children and women, in the context of climate change and also inequality in Indonesia. So I thought that's great. And my specific comment or note for each of you, first one to Ibu Lilis, Dr. Lilis. So it is very commendable that you highlight women's participation, so that's excellent. And there have been many studies on this one. This morning, Ibu and Professor Ant also has highlighted that one, so women and also disaster management. So although some research say that, women in the community forest management can lead to fairer processes and often better forest outcomes. But there are also some studies mention that they provide this a bit different how do you say, a bit negative kind of, and mixed results. So my question is, what kinds of participation matter most? And under what conditions does women's involvement lead to better outcomes? And my second question is, because you're focusing on gender. So I was just wondering how, now we are talking about intersectionality, and since this morning we are also talking about intersectionality, Kimberly Crenshaw, etc. So I was just wondering how gender intersects with other aspects of this women's identity, whether class, religion, age, education. Who gets to join and benefit more from this community forest? That's for Ibu Gillis, and for Pak Agus. For Pak Agus, I was just wondering, I think here we can see the interconnectedness between your research and also Ibu Lilis' research. You are also talking about well-being. I was just wondering how children's own views of well-being are incorporated into your study. Because you're talking about well-being, you're talking about children. So if you could say more on that one, that'd be great. My second question is also related to intersectionality. I was just wondering, I would be interested to hear more about how different, again, dimensions of identity, gender, age, class, ethnicity, interact in shaping vulnerability and also access to resources. In your case, Pak Agus, could you elaborate more on how intersectionality operates in your data, and whether some identities are more at risk of being invisibilized in responses to climate-induced displacements? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, both Professor Budi and Lisa. So you both have a chance to respond to quite challenging questions from the panelists. It's a tough panelist in this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Budi and Eva. And thank you for my speaker as well. Pak Budi asked about whether the variation of well-being in social forestry, whether the social forestry has the cost to increase well-being of the women or the people in the village. Let me give some example. Before the social forestry, the forests are area that is prohibited for villagers to access. Most of them are under the control of the Ministry of Forestry. But with the social forestry, they begin to have access to the forest, although not the main product and not the timber, but they can plant within the forest. They can benefit, like gather some herbs, gather some honey and rotan and other types, including taro, gadung, and some. Those looks very small. Like if we ask like the male, they usually think about the high benefit, the highest income, which is coming from the timber. But for women, those little things, what matters most, because it helps them with the daily livelihood. It gives them ability to sell them in small portion in the market, and then give money for the children and to go to school or to buy gas, for example. So it's really small. So, and yes, you're correct. We cannot say that the increase of well-being is fully because of the social forestry. It's just one factor, which is why in the there are other factors as well, direct or indirect, which is why in our developed framework of dimension of well-being. We didn't separate each of dimension. We make it like more complicated, interconnected between dimensions. So we cannot just put material well-being, access to land is matter most in increasing well-being. No, we cannot say that because to get access to land, people have to have the good relations with the neighbors, with the group who has access to social forest. This happens, maybe it's also to answer my equality. This also happens when a group of people who don't have that kind of social relations, they cannot access the forest, they cannot benefit. For example, the migrant, pendatang, not the local villagers. They have more difficult access to join the group of social forest. And also the difference of various causes, including the gender involvement, whether it is norms. We also recognize that structural and cultural barriers exist. Although some of the regulation from the Ministry Forest, they try to open it, but like the gender neutral provision doesn't really help. But the women themselves, I mean, when they see they can gain benefit from social forestry, they begin to have involvement more and more, which is why changes, transformative changes, like women leadership in Bani Socho, we cannot see within 5 or 10 years. Bani Socho developed a very strong women leadership in social forestry for 20 more years. So it's not the short terms to have that changes. And for Eva, for example, yes, about whether gender intersects with other other identity. It is. I mean, the group of women who can access the social forestry are those with better education, which gives them better confidence, because they need to to write, to organize, to administer how many resources that they can process and they can sell. They have all the notes of that. And class, well, I mean, in Java, in Bani Socho, the leaders are coming from the well-known, who originally they call it a ideas. CBK leaders. And within local origin and migrants is very obvious. Migrant has less access to the social services. I hope to know.
Thank you. Please, we hope the panelists are happy with the answers of this. Okay, thank you very much for Prof. Budi. That was about the interpretation about the picture, about the woman. When we look the woman in coastal area, this is very, very difficult and complicated because the woman prepare all of need to ship their fishermen. If there are no money, she will borrow in Tengkulak or they want sometimes not in pinjol online. This is when we look the data, the woman commission about the coastal area, it is about the domestic violence. This is Semarang in Pekalongan Demak. This is the current situation. And then if there is no money or the situation about the economic vulnerability, the woman will be responsibility to support their family. I think it's very, very important situation in this moment. And they lost about access to natural resources, and then more than affected about the loss or access about the participation to make policy in this local community. Maybe this is about the one of situation in this coastal area. And then about the second, about the poverty and the child, about the disenrichment schools. This is we look the cyclus about the poverty and massive poverty in coastal area where the doctor loss of the job, difficult to shifting the job, and then difficult to get access to the money and access to school because the flooding and some children leave school. I think it's effective or situation in COVID-19 because they very chill in no school until now they're in Semarang city especially malas masuk sekolah. Yeah, they're focused in child fishermen. And then the third about the current situation about the industry textile in Semarang, especially about the wax situation. This is about climate change in Lama Citra city. More than 10 company leave or move from Semarang, and then lay off more than 15 people, especially women. This is about the current situation affected about the climate change in Semarang. This is maybe in Jakarta and Demak situation because no protection from the government. Policy and other protection about the woman, especially in textile industry. Thank you.
I think there's one question from Evan said that about how we incorporate our children's views or also incorporated. These are all from the parents. Are you thinking of including those in your future research?
Oh yeah, I think in the future research focus about the school, focus on the education, and focus about the how to prepare to maintain about if there lost school and then what the intervention national policy and other the local government to respond about this situation.
Thank you. Thank you for all your responses, and you can continue to discuss with the panel leader. So we're now open for question and answer from the floor, and open for people to raise their hand. Gentleman in the green and another two more. You can start, sir, please.
Okay, thank you for your time. My name is Saiful. I'm really interested in this research article, but can you make clear the gap of this research? And secondly, I mean, my question comes to the first presentation and second presentation. And secondly, can you can you clarify the novelty of your research? Thank you.
Your questions? Who wants to answer first? Clarify the novelty of your research.
Yeah, thank you very much for novelty research. We looked at the method. This is a Scoopy tools method, and then roundtable. We get an 8 roundtable to in Semarang, in Demak, in Pekalongan, in Jakarta, early in start of research, and after research report, we invite them to discuss about this research and engage about the recommendation. Maybe this is a new novelty in this section.
Well, thank you, Pak Saiful. About the novelty of the research, I think it relies on the framework that we use, that we also developed, the millennial ecosystem assessment, and also we choose several social forestry schemes that are actually it has been we renew under the President Jokowi administration. Because previously, social forestry is under other names such as hutan kemasyarakatan and others, but under the Jokowi, it's included within one big program, Reforma Agraria and Perhutanan Sosial, and it has become one of the largest government grant to access the forest. And the women involvement in social forestry or in the forest management actually is not new, but we look at from the local perception on the good life, which is also not new, but we try to combine a lot of different elements and different dimensions from the framework and also from the local conceptualization on good life or well-being. And also the method we use the WhatsApp asynchronous focus group discussion and photo voice, which is very new. But we find a lot of interesting results from this new method that we use. And also we develop a new articles regarding the WhatsApp as a methodology for qualitative research.
Thank you. More questions on the floor? Anybody? Very nice. Oh, okay. Well, I still have a question about. Well, both of you are, think that you have this novel methodology and are seeking to expand your research. But my question is, what do you wish you had known, or you have built into the design now that you wish you did but you didn't? You regret about your design? Can you? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mas Firman. What we regret is probably our engagement with the stakeholders. The Ministry of Forestry is quite lacking, although we try to meet them several times, but during the election, the Ministry of Forestry is one of the ministry which is very sensitive, and especially they don't want any negative image, being published about them. And whenever we talk about social forestry and work engagement, we already have the gender mainstreaming provisions in a lot of regulations. But we try to be more constructive with them. And unfortunately, last time when the project ends, we don't have enough time to build more engagement because of the structural changes within the ministry as well too. There's a lot of rotation of the directors and Director General, so we don't have time. But we hope if with our extension is approved, by the KONEKSI, we can get more engagement with the ministry, hoping that the situation with the ministry is stabilized.
Yeah, I think about the climate change and women and gender is very, very complicated. And then the next situation, we need to do a revision regulation. This is very, very difficult in Indonesia. If no sponsor, I think in disaster risk management and women and gender with the Kementerian PPA. This is the new draft to the next to consulting and the meet in next project. Okay, thank you. So I think that we're now out of time. Let's give another round of applause to the panel. Yes, answer.
Thank you very much for this session. The energy level is a little bit down this afternoon. However, the Department of Defense and Trade of Australia has been a great supporter of research and policy to knowledge activities. So before we close for the day, I would like to invite Ms. Ria Arif to provide, closing remarks on today's activities. Silakan, Ibu.
Selamat sore, Bapak Ibu sekalian. It's 4 p.m., so I think everyone is eager to go home. My name is Ria Arif. I'm representing Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Australian Embassy, Jakarta. We fund the knowledge sector program, KONEKSI. It's a partnership between Australian and Indonesian government to support institutional partnerships between institutions in Australia and Indonesia on research, science, and innovation. Just for everyone to know, KONEKSI has been quite popular both in Australia and Indonesia because of that institutional partnerships, and I think you're all part of this. And the researchers, the Australian government is also said to the government of Indonesia that partnerships in research, science, and innovation is one of the bedrock of the partnerships between the two countries. So we are part of that. And again, our long-standing partner with Indonesia project from Budi, Pak Firman, Fitren, Mbak Lydia, Mbak Eva. It's also an example of Australian government support to research in Indonesia. We've been partnered with the Indonesia project for decades, for a long time. And I think we remain to be committed in the sector. I'll just, being the last but not the least, I'll be quick. First, I would like to congratulate everyone who is part of the event this morning. We have distinguished guests from Penn State University who had a chance to have a brief chat around the research, but also the environment, the global development challenges that we're in. I think in summary, representing the Australian government, I would like to say that today's presentations have highlighted the depth and diversity of research being undertaken by KONEKSI grantees on the intersection of social inequality, community resilience, and climate change. We have heard powerful insights from across disciplines and regions, insights that underscore the importance of inclusive, context-sensitive, and locally informed responses to one of the most pressing challenges of our time. I would also like to acknowledge the openness of our presenters to feedback, to criticism, and the generosity of our experts, commentators, and audience in sharing reflections and questions that will no doubt help strengthen the relevance and impact of this work moving forward. This symposium is part of the broader effort of KONEKSI to foster a research ecosystem that not only advances knowledge, but also contributes meaningfully to policy and practice. We remain committed to supporting collaboration, learning, and innovation that centers equity, inclusivity, and evidence in addressing Indonesia's development priority. As we close this afternoon, I encourage all of us to stay connected, continue the conversations that we began here, and explore opportunities for further engagement and partnerships. And no doubt there'll be more call from the KONEKSI round. I'm looking at Jenna here. But also more collaborations with our colleagues from the Indonesia project going forward. KONEKSI will continue until 2027, and we hope to continue further. And again, look forward to seeing everyone in the next session or in the next KONEKSI workshops. And again, thank you once again, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ibu Ria. And that concludes our activities today. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, active participation. On behalf of LPAM, FEB UI, ANU Indonesia Project, and also program KONEKSI, thank you very much. And also, as Indonesian, we always say, please forgive any shortcomings that we had today. So everyone, thanks again and enjoy your evening.